The short flight to Lukla gets you high into the Himalayas. Along the way you have stunning and panoramic views of this incredible mountain range. But before long you'll be hitting the trail. Just remember to spin the prayer wheels clockwise for good luck and avoid the traffic along the dusty path. From the start, this is more than just a walk. Along the trail you have numerous religious structures. Just keep going clockwise. The first day's walk is relatively easy and short, so our guide Sonam took us up the hill to visit his monastery. It was a wonderful structure with great open views down the valley, but while there we heard a loud horn, the call to prayer. Sonam ushered us in and we were blown away by this beautiful ceremony that was taking place. It was a very peaceful and relaxing way to end the day. Fueled and rested, we hit the trail again, on our way to Namche Bazaar. Sonam invited us for tea at his own lodge, which isn't a bad place for a cuppa. But then it was into Sagarmatha National Park. Sagarmatha being the Nepalese name for Everest. Once in here, the terrain really geared up. One thing's for sure, you won't go hungry on this trek, or get bored of the incredible tea houses. The one thing more synonymous to the area than the colourful prayer flags are the suspension bridges crossing the vast gorges. This one in particular is the Hillary Bridge, and while you might think it's scary, it's honestly not, even for someone who's scared of heights like me. By this stage of the trip, everyone is starting to gel and the camaraderie kicks in. It really is the people that make these trips sometimes. The morning had been quite flat, but now it was up and into the higher altitudes. While trekking through the dense pine forest, it did occasionally open up and offer stunning views down the valley. But by mid-afternoon and a lot of trekking up the hill, we made it to Namche Bazaar, the capital of the Sherpa district high in the Himalayas. It wouldn't be a British expedition without a regular tea stop to end the day. Today was an acclimatization day. To help our bodies prepare for what lay ahead, we trekked a couple of 100 metres up before coming back down again. Now out of the pine forest, the views opened up and we were really blessed. Maybe all that wheel spinning was paying off. We had incredible views and incredible weather. But then came the moment. We trekked higher up and turned a corner, and there, in front of us, was Everest itself. The only way to add to the experience of viewing Everest is to have a cup of tea at the same time, which is exactly what we did at the very aptly named Everest View Hotel. But then it was downhill to a nearby village for a spot of lunch. While that was being made, we dodged the local traffic for another monastery. This one claims to have a Yeti skull. It's hard to understate how important Hillary is to the Sherpas. This is a school that he helped establish. It's where our guy went to. Volleyball is really the big game of the area. But then it was back to Namche for a bit more oxygen and a time to chill in the lodge before a good night's sleep. Leaving the relative metropolis of Namche, we headed higher up into the mountains. Buddhism is so important to the locals, and it's respectful as well as a bit of fun to spin the wheels and appreciate these stunning stupas high on the mountains. This stupa is known as the Hillary and Tenzing stupa, with eyes on both the water for Buddhist beliefs, but also Everest in the distance. The walk in the morning was easy, if a little Nepalese flat. Again, we dined al fresco with soup, rice, chips and eggs, momos or noodles. But then it was back to the trail, and with a full tummy we started a steep uphill section. The scenery certainly helped inspire us. Before long, we were at the night's lodge, ready for a good cup of tea. How often do you wake up to a view of Everest through a frosty window? It was pretty special. Another easy start, going down through a rhododendron forest before crossing the river on probably our 9th suspension bridge. It was starting to feel a little more remote, rugged, and generally Himalayan. To make the point, we saw our first yak trains. Yaks can't operate south of Namche as it's too warm, but just remember to stay on the uphill side of the path, although they are very docile creatures. Back to the trail, and the cobbled paths start to thin out, replaced with the wide plateau path. Dingboche is the hub of expedition climbing, where everyone acclimatizes and rests for Everest and the surrounding mountains. Up here there's no wood to burn in the fires, so it's all done by dried yak poo to keep you warm. Another acclimatization day. These can vary in routes depending on weather and the group, but we headed up a nearby hill, taking it nice and slow. Here we had incredible, uninterrupted views of Lhotse, Makalu, Cho Oyu, the 3rd, 4th and 5th highest mountains in the world, as well as a sacred unclimbed peak. After 30 minutes taking in the thin air, it was back down for lunch and a rest afternoon, which was mostly spent in the cafes and just taking in the local area. This is dalbat, the local dish all the guys eat. Perfect fuel for the mountains. But again, there's always time for tea around the fire at night. Another beautiful morning in the Himalayas. Don't be fooled, however cute the dogs are, they do like to bark at night and keep you awake. The Sherpa Bistro is the place to go to in Dingboche. It's great for charging phones, Wi-Fi and cake. Once out of Dingboche and up over the hills, we're now on the open plateau where the yaks are sent to graze when not working. Our stuff was being carried by a dizu, a hybrid cow-yak capable of carrying things but in a lower area down to Lukla. This was our stop for the night, a midway tea house between two main villages. It hadn't been a long day, so to aid acclimatization again, we headed around the corner to a frozen lake, and just to take in the area before heading back. Most trekkers who stopped for lunch carried on, so we were by ourselves now here in Lukla. Altitude had really kicked in, but so had the cold. It can get down to -20 at night up here. The next morning was a bit of a steep start, but it didn't last long. After an hour of trekking, we made the next plateau and entered a memorial to all those who never made it back from climbing Mount Everest. It was very poignant and a very special place to visit. But before long we're back on the trail to Lobuche. We're now deep in the Himalayas and starting our trek along the side of the Khumbu Glacier. Everest wasn't far now, but at this altitude you have to take it nice and slow. We made it to Lobuche, 4,900 meters up, but big day tomorrow, it was all the way to base camp. This was it, base camp day, an early and very cool start with all our layers on, but we were all very excited. However excited and close we were, we still had to take it nice and slow. Before long, just round the corner, we started to spot tents in the distance. It was base camp. By this stage, we were head down, crack on, and let's get the job done. We dropped off our bags and pieces at the night's accommodation in Gorakshep before heading for the final push. The path disappears and it's a boulder moraine before a long walk along the glacier ridge. After 9 days of trekking, up to a height of over 5,300 metres, we'd made it. A big well done to all the trekkers that made it. It was a great job. Well done, guys. This sign had been put up a week before our arrival, but as you can see, the old rock had just come too graffitied. Oh, and always mind the axe. After a while celebrating, it was time to head back. We still had a fair trek back to Lukla, and the adventure was far from over, but we had made it up there to base camp. If base camp wasn't enough, 3 of us woke up at 3 AM to tackle Patthar, a nearby mountain about 5,600 metres up. Normally famed for its sunrise views of Everest, the weather had turned on us. However, it was still an incredible trek to get up there, and peak bagging in the Himalayas is as good as it gets, and the sense of achievement was almost greater than that of reaching Everest Base Camp. For our first day of descent, the snow had kicked in, transforming the same path we'd come up on, but it was very atmospheric and very Himalayan. This guy is carrying the famous ladders used by climbers to cross the crevices in the Khumbu icefall. Another sign that expedition teams were now on the mountain. Climbers had left flags at the memorial site for good luck. We were dropping height fast and soon found ourselves below the snow line, for now anyway. This is Liz. She smashed Patthar at 3 AM and the epic 20km walk to here, an amazing adventurer. Lodges lower down were a little more luxurious, but without the loss of incredible views. The snow had come in thick overnight for a truly winter wonderland, but nobody cared. Today was our big push to Namche and warm showers, the first since Namche a whole week before. Everything looked just so different in the snow. We were walking down the same path as we came up on, but it just looked different. Heads were down, and before long we'd made it to Namche for hot showers, shopping and rest. This was it, the last day, the final push of our long trek in the Himalayas. We were lucky to be there on a Friday, so visited the local market where neighbouring villages descend to sell everything from carrots to shoes. Below Namche, it was as if the snow had never happened, as we basked in the warmth of the sun. There was time for just one last view of Everest between the trees. Farewell, old girl, until next time. We were retracing our steps now, back through the forests and into the openings. We also got to cross the spectacular Hillary Bridge just one more time. After a long morning, walking down to the valley floor, it was time to hit the Nepalese flat, swinging the prayer wheels for luck, but as always, the priority is on the cup of tea, back at our guide Sonam's place. Meeting fresh-faced trekkers just off the flight from Lukla, we felt like Himalayan trekking veterans, ogling at their cleanness. After lunch, it was Nepalese flat, but as the sun went, we started a steep climb up to Lukla. I'll be honest, this was really tough. We were all just knackered after a long day's walk, but we were nearly there. Not even the rain can dampen our spirits. Then we were there, the metropolis of Lukla. Getting into the lodge that night was possibly more elating than base camp itself, because we'd finished there and back. We were all just so happy to be back, and we'd done what we came to achieve. Well done everybody, great work.